Hello everyone and welcome to this week's vlog. My name is Marc and I am an IQ bar vlogger. This week we continue our topic, assessment for learning. We will take a look at adapting an assessment for a young Bready, one that possibly can't read and write. So how would we go about doing an assessment and making sure that they have assimilated the information from their lessons? So let us begin. So when we speak about assessment for learning, we are obviously speaking about the continuous development of the Bready. Testing to make sure that they have assimilated the information and that they are able to reproduce the information. So we are speaking about an assessment for a very young Bready. A typical example of this is assessment 1A. This is the very first assessment that the Breadys do. So what does a test? Well, firstly, it tests their ability to greet, starting with, hello, my name is. How are you? I'm fine, thanks. And you? I'm fine. So this is the very first thing that they learn in Unit 1 from Lesson 1 to Lesson 10. The other thing that they learn are 5 colours. So we have green, red, white, blue and yellow. Those are the 5 colours. Do they know the colours? Are they able to tell you what the colours are? Obviously, if the Bready cannot read, we have to find different ways of testing them. So you'll have some Breadys that the moment they realize it's a test, they will freeze up. So it's up to you to relax them. You can test their greeting skills as part of the assessment. For example, hello, how are you? I'm fine, and you? So, are they able to introduce themselves? Are they able to ask you how you are? Are they able to answer? One of the simple things you can do, for example, is instead of going through the board or assessment one slide by the other slide, just get a general idea of what the assessment, you can have a little, well, I've got an angry bird. In this case, you can use the angry bird to speak to them. Hello, how are you? So that they are still having fun. Next, we will look at an example of how to do colours, how you would test them. Here I have some simple flashcards. These are parts of the colours that have been introduced. So how are you possibly going to get them to recognize the colours? One of the first things you can do is, of course, to use the colours on the whiteboard. Are they able to tell you what colour it is? Now, even though we constantly encourage Breadys to speak in full sentences, what happens in this instance is they should only be able to tell you what the colour is. Right. Now, they will not necessarily be able to read the colour, but they can recognize the color and sometimes just shout out the color name. What I usually do is something silly and say, for example, oh, what color is this? I stick the color on my head and say, can you tell me what color is this? This distracts them from the fact that they are doing an assessment, and they can have a little fun by you sticking something on your head. Now they can see blue. You can play around with them. Is it red? They like being right. So if you make a mistake, they will be quick to correct you. In this way, they are doing the assessment. You are testing to make sure that they have assimilated the material, but they're having fun while doing it. So, in conclusion, what have we been speaking about? We've been speaking about assessment for learning, making sure that you are using continual assessment to make sure that the brain has assimilated the information they have been taught and that they are able to reproduce. Today, we spoke about an assessment for a very young Bready, how you don't have to go through the assessment slide by slide, but you know, for example, in assessment 1A, the very first assessment, that you are testing their greeting skills and you are testing their ability to identify colors. Get creative in your assessment mechanisms. You know by looking at the assessment that there are specific outcomes that has to be tested. How you go about testing those specific outcomes in part is up to you. You can use the lesson as a guideline if the Brady cannot read and write, and use various props and colors and flashcards to still test the same mechanisms, to test the same specific outcomes, to make sure that they understand. That's all for this week. I will see you all again next week. Bye bye. Thank you for watching.